Did you know some of Hollywood's biggest icons lived double lives, hiding their true selves behind the golden lights? In an era where being gay could destroy your career overnight, these stars risked everything just to exist. Today, we reveal 21 secretly gay stars of old Hollywood, whose truth was buried for decades. Rock Hudson, the heartthrob who hid his truth. Rock Hudson was Hollywood's ultimate leading man, the kind of star every studio dreamed of. With his charming smile and towering frame, he became the face of 1950s masculinity, starring in hits like Pillow Talk and Giant. But behind that confident image was a man living a dangerous double life. In an era when homosexuality was considered a career-ending scandal, Hudson was forced to keep his true identity hidden. He entered a short-lived marriage arranged by his studio to silence rumors, but the whispers never stopped. When Hudson's AIDS diagnosis became public in 1985, the world was stunned, not only because of his illness, but because it revealed what Hollywood had spent decades hiding. Rock Hudson's bravery in his final years helped humanize AIDS victims and changed how the world saw both the disease and the LGBTQ+ community forever. Cary Grant, the gentleman with a hidden life. Cary Grant was the very definition of Hollywood sophistication, charming, graceful, and effortlessly handsome. He played the perfect leading man, but behind his polished image lay a truth the studios desperately wanted buried. Throughout the 1930s and 40s, Grant shared a home with fellow actor Randolph Scott. The two were inseparable, vacationing together, posing for domestic photos, and living what many quietly called a bachelor marriage. Gossip magazines hinted at their closeness, but the studio machine quickly stepped in, pairing Grant with high-profile women to protect his public image. Though he denied the rumors during his lifetime, those who knew him privately described a man torn between love and the fear of being exposed. In the end, Cary Grant's charm captivated millions, but his real story, the one behind closed doors, remains one of the most whispered secrets of Hollywood's golden age. Katharine Hepburn, the rebel who loved in secret. Katharine Hepburn was one of Hollywood's most powerful and independent women, a trailblazer who refused to play by anyone's rules. Known for her sharp tongue and unconventional style, she often wore trousers when women were expected to wear dresses, symbolizing her defiance against tradition. But behind her fierce independence was a private world few ever saw. Many biographers suggest that Hepburn's deepest emotional connections were with women, particularly her lifelong companion, socialite Laura Harding. Though Hollywood promoted her on-screen chemistry with men like Spencer Tracy, insiders claim their relationship was more of a public cover than a passionate romance. Hepburn never married again after Tracy's death, and she guarded her personal life with unmatched secrecy. In an era when women had little freedom, Katharine Hepburn quietly broke barriers, living by her own rules, both in her career and in love. Marlene Dietrich, the glamorous rule breaker. Marlene Dietrich wasn't just a movie star. She was a revolution wrapped in glamour. Known for her smoky voice, daring fashion, and magnetic presence, Dietrich blurred the lines between femininity and masculinity long before Hollywood dared to. She often wore tailored suits, kissed women openly at parties, and flaunted her bisexuality in an age when even rumors could end a career. Dietrich's relationships reportedly included both men and women, from actor John Gilbert to writer Mercedes de Acosta and even legendary singer Edith Piaf. Her confidence terrified the conservative Hollywood system but fascinated audiences worldwide. She became a symbol of freedom, a woman who refused to hide or apologize for who she was. Even decades later, Marlene Dietrich remains one of the boldest examples of queer visibility during the Golden Age, proving that authenticity is the most timeless form of beauty. Greta Garbo, the enigmatic queen of silence. Greta Garbo was the very definition of mystery, a goddess of the silver screen who spoke little but said everything with her eyes. Off-screen, she was even more elusive. Garbo avoided interviews, premieres, and Hollywood's social scene, famously declaring, "I want to be alone." But behind that privacy was a deeply personal secret. Many historians believe Garbo shared a long, passionate relationship with playwright and actress Mercedes de Acosta. Their letters, filled with affection and longing, revealed a connection far beyond friendship. Garbo never confirmed nor denied the rumors, maintaining an aura of secrecy that only deepened her legend. In an era when love between women was forbidden, Garbo's silence was both protection and protest. She lived life on her own terms, refusing to let the world define her, a true icon whose mystery still captivates generations. James Dean, the rebel who hid his heart. James Dean became a cultural icon almost overnight, the symbol of teenage rebellion and misunderstood youth. But behind his brooding stare and magnetic talent was a young man hiding from Hollywood's harsh reality. Dean's close relationships with older male directors and producers, including rumors involving Nicholas Ray and Rogers Brackett, were an open secret in certain Hollywood circles. Yet in the 1950s, such truths could destroy a rising star's career. To the world, he was the ultimate rebel without a cause. Privately, he struggled with identity, acceptance, and loneliness. Friends later described him as fluid in his attractions, someone who loved people, not genders. Tragically, his life ended at just 24, leaving behind not only timeless films, but also questions about who he truly was. James Dean's hidden truth only deepens his legend, a rebel in every sense, even against society's rules. Montgomery Clift, the tragic perfectionist. Montgomery Clift was one of the most gifted actors of his generation, intense, sensitive, and heartbreakingly real. He brought raw emotion to classics like A Place in the Sun and From Here to Eternity, earning the title of Hollywood's beautiful loner. But behind his soulful eyes was a man torn apart by secrets. Clift was gay in an era when being open meant career suicide. He kept his relationships hidden, often consumed by guilt and fear of exposure. After a devastating car accident in 1956, his life spiraled into addiction and depression, worsened by the pressure of living a lie. Yet his pain gave his performances unmatched depth. Every glance, every tear felt painfully real. Montgomery Clift's life was short and haunted, but his struggle for authenticity made him one of Hollywood's most human and unforgettable stars. Barbara Stanwyck, the steel magnolia of Hollywood. Barbara Stanwyck was one of Hollywood's toughest and most respected actresses, sharp, independent, and fiercely ambitious. Known for her powerful performances in films like Double Indemnity and Stella Dallas, she built her career on playing strong women who didn't need saving. But off-screen, Stanwyck lived with secrets she never discussed publicly. Rumors about her sexuality circulated for decades, especially regarding her close relationships with women, including her longtime friend and publicist Helen Ferguson. Though she was briefly married to actor Robert Taylor, many insiders described it as a studio-arranged marriage, meant to silence gossip. Stanwyck never denied or confirmed the stories, preferring to let her work speak for her. In a time when Hollywood forced conformity, she remained unapologetically private, living life on her own terms. Barbara Stanwyck's silence was her armor, and her strength made her one of the Golden Age's most enduring legends. Ramon Novarro, the silent star with a hidden pain. Ramon Novarro was one of Hollywood's earliest Latin heartthrobs, charming, graceful, and immensely talented. Rising to fame in the 1920s with films like Ben-Hur, 1925, he became MGM's golden boy, adored by millions of fans. But behind his captivating smile was a man trapped by fear. In an era when homosexuality was criminalized, Novarro was forced to live a double life. Studio executives often spread false rumors about his relationships with women to maintain his public image. Privately, he longed for real connection but lived in constant terror of exposure. His tragic death in 1968, murdered in his own home by two men he had invited there, shocked the world and revealed the cruelty of Hollywood's hidden hypocrisy. Ramon Novarro's story is both heartbreaking and heroic, a reminder of the price many paid just to be themselves in the Golden Age. Tallulah Bankhead, the wild spirit of old Hollywood. Tallulah Bankhead was a force of nature, loud, fearless, and unapologetically herself. Known for her smoky voice, sharp wit, and outrageous behavior, she became one of the most talked-about actresses of the 1930s and 40s. Bankhead never cared much for Hollywood's rules or its fake respectability. She openly flirted with both men and women, famously saying, "I'm ambisextrous. I'll try anything once." Her relationships reportedly included actresses like Billie Holiday and Greta Garbo, though she never labeled herself. Tallulah's scandalous parties, provocative humor, and wild honesty made her both adored and feared by the industry. Despite the gossip, her immense talent on stage and screen could not be denied. In a time when others hid behind carefully crafted images, Tallulah Bankhead lived out loud, daring to be exactly who she was in a world built on pretense. Tyrone Power, the handsome idol with a secret life. Tyrone Power was one of the most magnetic leading men of the 1930s and 40s, charming audiences with his elegance, piercing eyes, and romantic hero roles. To millions, he was the image of masculine perfection, but Hollywood insiders whispered about a different side of his life. Behind his studio-crafted image, Power was rumored to have relationships with both men and women, a truth that could have ended his career if exposed. Studio executives carefully orchestrated his public romances and marriages to maintain the illusion of the perfect movie idol. Off-screen, he longed for genuine love but lived in quiet conflict with the expectations of fame. Despite the pressure, Power remained kind, private, and deeply human. His sudden death at just 44 left fans heartbroken, and his rumored hidden truth remains one of Hollywood's most quietly enduring mysteries. Cole Porter, the musical genius behind The Mask. Cole Porter was the brilliant composer whose songs defined sophistication in the 1930s and 40s. Behind timeless hits like Anything Goes and I've Got You Under My Skin was a man living a life of dazzling charm and quiet concealment. Everyone in Hollywood and Broadway circles knew Porter was gay, yet the public never did. To protect his reputation, he married Linda Lee Thomas, a wealthy socialite who loved and supported him, even knowing his truth. Together, they maintained a glamorous facade, hosting lavish parties filled with stars and secrets. Porter's lyrics often carried coded expressions of forbidden love, hidden beneath wit and melody. Though he lived in a time of repression, his music celebrated passion and desire in ways few dared to. Cole Porter's genius turned personal pain into art, and his songs still whisper the truth he couldn't speak aloud. Lizabeth Scott, the femme fatale Hollywood tried to silence. Lizabeth Scott was the ultimate film noir goddess, seductive, mysterious, and fiercely independent. With her husky voice and smoldering screen presence, she captivated audiences in classics like Dead Reckoning and Too Late for Tears. But behind her glamorous image, Scott faced a scandal that nearly destroyed her career. In 1955, a tabloid accused her of being involved in lesbian Hollywood circles, an explosive claim for the era. The studio panicked, but Scott refused to be intimidated. She sued the magazine and won, though the damage to her reputation lingered. She never married, kept her private life deeply guarded, and lived far from Hollywood's spotlight after the rumors. Yet those who knew her described a woman of immense strength and self-respect, unashamed of who she was. Lizabeth Scott's quiet defiance made her not just a star, but a survivor of Hollywood's cruel double standards. Raymond Burr, the man behind the Hollywood illusion. Raymond Burr became a household name as the stern yet brilliant lawyer in Perry Mason and later as Ironside's tough detective. To audiences, he was the picture of authority, rugged, moral, and masculine. But the truth behind that image was carefully crafted by Hollywood studios. Burr's publicity team invented stories about a wife and son who had supposedly died, none of whom ever existed. The fiction was meant to hide Burr's sexuality at a time when being openly gay could destroy an actor's career. In reality, Burr shared a long, loving relationship with Robert Benavides, his partner for over 3 decades. They built a quiet life together, raising orchids and producing wine far from Hollywood's spotlight. Burr's ability to balance public image and private truth showed immense courage. Though he lived in secrecy, his kindness and authenticity left a lasting legacy far beyond the screen. Clifton Webb, Hollywood's elegant outsider. Clifton Webb was one of the most sophisticated and sharp-tongued actors of Hollywood's golden years. Known for his unforgettable roles in Laura and Cheaper by the Dozen, he brought wit, charm, and refinement to every performance. Off-screen, Webb was openly himself among friends, witty, cultured, and unapologetically gay at a time when few dared to be. He never married, lived with his beloved mother until her death, and made no effort to hide his unique lifestyle from those who knew him personally. Hollywood gossip columnists often hinted about his sexuality, But Webb brushed it off with humor, saying, "I am what I am." Studios tolerated it because his talent was undeniable, and audiences adored his sophisticated persona. Clifton Webb's confidence and intelligence made him a quiet pioneer, proving that individuality and grace could shine even in an industry built on pretending.